High in a sunlit hedgerow, a tiny curve of olive green flashes between blossom and leaf. A bill slips into a tubular flower, and for a suspended breath, the world seems measured in nectar, delicate, bright, essential. This is the olive-backed sunbird, visiting a garden like a stitch through fabric. Before we wander deeper, a quiet note. Please do not offer processed sugars or homemade certs. These birds are best supported by flowers and careful vetted feeding practices only when necessary. Keep distance from nests. Watch with binoculars rather than searching branches. With that small kindnesses advisory said, let us move slowly.
The olive-backed sunbird, small, spry, and often overlooked, lives at the edges, garden borders, forest margins, and scrubby hedgerows where tubular flowers cluster. In many regions, it favors sunlit gaps where nectar is plentiful and insects hide beneath leaves. Picture a dawn-lit patch of blooms, petals trembling with the first light, and the sunbird like a bright punctuation, quick, precise, and entirely at home between flower and sky. These are birds of close attention, both to the plants that feed them and to the microhabitats they help maintain.
Life begins for many sunbirds within a hanging cradle, a nest woven from plant fibers, spider silk, and soft moss, suspended from a slender twig. The mother selects sites that sway with wind but keep predators guessing. Clutches are modest, usually 2 eggs, incubated in a rhythm of patient warmth. Parents trade places with quiet choreography, a brief arrival, a quick turn, and back to the soft duty of keeping the eggs safe. Think of it as careful domestic engineering, small artisanship in the shrubbery.
Chicks hatch into cramped, featherless bundles that grow astonishingly fast, fed on a mix of regurgitated insect protein and later tiny sips of nectar. Their vulnerability is real, but the emphasis here is resilience. Parents compensate with relentless foraging, with furtive lessons in wing flapping and balance. The main pressures these young birds face are disturbance, human activity near nests, and a slow decline in insect abundance where pesticides are used. I will not describe dire scenes. Rather, I'll point to solutions: reduced chemicals in gardens and respectful distance around nesting shrubs.
As adults, olive-backed sunbirds are exquisite machines of feeding. Their bill, long, slightly curved, matches the shape of tubular flowers. Inside, a brush-like tongue unfurls to lap nectar while the bird balances, sometimes perching, sometimes hovering with quick humming bursts. Nectar is their sugar, fuel for flight, but insects supply the amino acids that powers growth and reproduction. Watch how they flick for small spiders, glean tiny caterpillars from leaf undersides, then return to sip. A daily balance between juice and protein.
Courtship is a patient, seasonal conversation between plumage and timing. Males may flash brighter patches, sing short bubbling notes, or display at favored perches near flower-rich territories. Nest site choice often follows the flowering calendar. Pairs time their building and breeding with predictable pulses of nectar. There is nothing theatrical here, only repeated little offerings, a flower defended, a twig added, a soft exchange between mates. It's quiet devotion, orchestrated by the rhythm of blossoms.
Sunbirds are more than flower visitors. They are pollinators that shape plant communities. When a bill slips into a corolla, pollen adheres in just the right places. Plant and bird meet in a functional handshake. In gardens, a careful palette of tubular native flowers can create a seasonal calendar that keeps sunbirds fed, and in turn helps those plants reproduce. That matchmaking matters. Shift the flowers you plant, and you subtly shift which insects and birds will thrive. Gardens become ecosystems, not ornaments.
Now, a more practical moment. Please avoid feeding sugary liquids as your first solution. If feeders are used, follow vetted recipes and keep them clean. Never pry at nests or try to move them. Sunbird nests are delicate and often well hidden for good reason. Observe from a respectful distance. Binoculars and time-lapse photos taken from afar are kinder than handheld approaches that disturb.
If you worry a nest is in danger, contact local bird groups rather than investigating alone. These are small acts, but they make a big difference.
For those who want to help in the garden, plant native tubular flowers in staggered bloom times so nectar flows across the seasons. Create small insect-friendly corners, logs, native ground cover, reduced mowing, and avoid broad-spectrum pesticides that remove the insect sunbirds need. Remember regional differences. Which native flowers work best depends on your local climate and soil. I've added region-filtered native plant checklists and vetted pollinator guides in the show notes, so you can choose wisely rather than guessing. Small patches, thoughtfully planted, repay you with bright, steady visits.
Now, let us sit together for a minute and listen. For 60 seconds, allow the garden to breathe into your awareness. Soft wing shuffles, distant insect hums, a subtle breeze across petals. I'll step back and leave space so you can notice the small music these birds make in their daily work. If you're listening with eyes open, look toward the edges where flowers and foliage meet and simply be present.
In that moment, we see nature's quiet wisdom, a tiny pollinator, persistent and exacting, shaping a patch of life one sip at a time. The olive-backed sunbird teaches a modest stewardship. Gardens matter, timing matters, and distance often speaks louder than hands. If this gentle story brought you a small lift, consider staying with Avian Tranquility. Subscribe for more calm stories about the lives of birds. Share this episode with a neighbor who gardens. And if you try one stewardship step today, let it be to plant one native tubular flower and to let nests be. Thank you for listening. May your garden invite patience, and may small wings keep visiting your edges.